Hello, welcome back to Conversations with Karen and Kat, the podcast where we connect with powerful change makers, visionaries, and everyday heroes who are shaping culture and community. Today, we're excited to welcome a dynamic leader who is shaping the future of professional growth right here in Metro Atlanta. Melissa Ramirez is the director of the Gwinnett Young Professionals at the Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce, in, where she leads initiatives that connect, empower, and elevate emerging leaders across the region. With a passion for building authentic relationships and creating meaningful opportunities, Melissa is dedicated to helping the next generation not just succeed, but lead with purpose and impact. Welcome, Melissa, to Conversations with Karen and Kat.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Kat. Thank you for having me.
Yes, this is exciting. So, take us to the beginning. What inspired your passion for community building and leadership development?
Absolutely. So I was born in New York and I left New York when I was 3, moved to Colombia, South America. So I had my foundational years there. And then I grew up in Georgia. So I've said y'all as long as I can remember since I learned English again. But I only had my mom here as family. So growing up, community was also just something really important to me all throughout my life. And when I went to Georgia State, I know I have a fellow Panther here. I was very involved with the Goizueta Scholarship Cohort. There was so much to stay connected and find that sense of community. But along the journey, I met so many other young professionals, and we were like, man, it's hard to make friends as an adult. What happens after? And it's like early 20s, right? Like when you're just out of undergrad, school creates a platform of connectivity that once you enter the real world, it can be really isolating. And so I just always found that to be something that drove me, but I didn't know how that translated into adulthood. I've lived several lives in terms of career. I was a paralegal. I was in accounting for a while, but then in nonprofit spaces. And through that journey of my professional background, I got involved in a young professionals program through the Hispanic Chamber. So This is a shameless plug, but there's Hype. We love them still. They just celebrated their 10th anniversary. And I volunteered.
Now, explain what that acronym is.
Yes,
we got to explain acronyms on this show, girl.
I appreciate that. Thank you for reminding me. It's Hispanic Young Professionals and Entrepreneurs. Right. So I volunteered there. A friend of mine was just like, hey, come to this really cool networking event with me. You'll meet other people and it'll be fun. And during the pandemic, I decided to jump in and serve in a leadership position, but this was all volunteer work. And fast forward through that volunteer role, not only did I make a lot of great friends and amazing connections and people working in these phenomenal companies, like these big corporate headquarters, like Fortune 500 companies in Atlanta, but I found that Hispanic community too. So I was like, okay, this is great. Love to see people who look like me thriving. But that volunteer role was heavy. And I was like, wow, we have so much to do. It could be really a job. And then they invited, there was this event that came up. And they said, hey, we need somebody to represent Hype at this Gwinnett Young Professionals event. And I said, hold up, because I've always lived in Gwinnett. I get to do something that I love and I don't have to go into the perimeter. That's amazing. Like, don't make me go into that traffic again, please.
I know, we got to pay to park.
I know. Yeah. So as a volunteer representing Hype, I went into the Gwinnett Young Professionals Metro Atlanta YP Mixer, which I'll talk about that in a few minutes. And then a year later, they had a job opening. And I said, there's no way that there is an organization that would pay somebody to lead these efforts where people can connect and find a place of belonging. But lo and behold, the Gwinnett Chamber is really one of a kind. We're the only chamber that we know of so far that has not only 1, but 2 full-time staff members dedicated solely to young professionals. But throughout my journey, it really has just been the community that's been around me and where I found a sense of belonging that translated into a passion. And now I get to create these spaces for young professionals, whether they're just out of college or just entering the workforce or already have established families, have their masters or up and up in their careers. But they find a place where they can meet somebody who they can relate to, give a hand up to as somebody else is giving them a hand up. But it's been a pretty organic journey. And I'm just so thankful that I get to do this for a living and really work through what I'm passionate about. So
Wow.
long answer, but I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it does. Go ahead, Kat.
What are young professionals getting right today that older generations may not have underestimated?
I think one of the things I love to see is I could be so wrong, but just what I've witnessed is feelings and authenticity are celebrated across generations, but even more so these younger generations, like how you feel when you are outspoken about not just the metrics, but what you're helping people feel throughout what you're producing is really important, especially in the community building space. And I think young professionals are really in tune with how they feel and how that translates to how they show up to work. So I think paying attention to those softer skills and things that maybe we were told in the past, like it's not about how you feel, it's the metrics, like you got to show up and like fake it till you make it. I think I'm witnessing through the work that we do that fake it till you make it will only get you so far, but authenticity is really key to thriving in whatever industry you're in.
So how do you balance ambition with authenticity?
That's such a good question, because no matter what program you are in, whether it's nonprofit, whether it's for profit, like, you know, you have to hit some marks. There's revenue that needs to be made to continue programs in our case, right? And I've never been a very money driven person, but I don't do a lot of the things that I do because of the money that it translates into or the revenue that it translates into, because I get to lead so organically and authentically about, I really want to help somebody find a friend. I really want to help somebody become the best leader they can be through our workshops. I really want to help these nonprofits get volunteers through our program. All of that leads to the revenue goals that we need to meet, the impact that we need to meet. And it happens really organically. And yes, there are times that you have to stay focused, and there are times that you have to book your time and do not disturb because I have to make the budgets or I have to find sponsors. But because of the authenticity that we drive with, because I'm not a solo team, I have another teammate and a board. All of us are really passionate about this kind of work, and it translates into the work that we do, that the results speak for themselves.
Can you tell us some of the initiatives that your organization puts forward to attract young professionals? And then secondly, how do you make it affordable? Because the chamber is not cheap. And so someone early in their career, you know, that the cost may be prohibitive for joining a large chamber like Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce.
That is such a good question. Yes. So I'll break it down into two sections, but GYP, or Gwinnett Young Professionals, is broken down into 5 key pillars: Connect, Grow, Impact, Journey, and 35 under 35. Connect is networking events. Those happen on a monthly and a quarterly basis. Every month, once a month, we are in different places in Gwinnett where you can just have open networking sessions for 21 to 35-year-olds. We typically go to different businesses or different nonprofits or spaces that want to host us. And to your point on affordability, tickets start at $10 and you get breakfast, coffee, and networking. So that's how we make it accessible. You don't even have to be a chamber member to attend these events. Our goal is to be a bridge into the chamber. Because when I was younger, I was like, I didn't study business. I studied political science. What did I have to do at a chamber? I didn't know. It was just a fancy job in Columbia. You said you work at a chamber of commerce. It's like, wow. But as I've obviously seen, it is for everybody. So our goal is, if your organization isn't a chamber member, this is a great way for you to see what a chamber does and find that sense of community and like, hey, we belong here and our voice matters here, because we're not just tomorrow's leaders. Some of our people are leading now. So back to answering how we're broken down. So Connect is networking events that range anywhere between $10 to $20 or $30. In the evenings, we meet quarterly, also in different spaces in Gwinnett. We provide food and networking, so almost like a happy hour style. And that's usually our most recurring event. Then we have our Grow pillar, which are personal and professional development workshops. And those are one-offs. Those can range anywhere like $15. We always provide food, and we bring in great speakers across different kinds of topics that are key to being an adult. We've had topics like, how do you turn your side hustle into your main source of income? How do you buy your first home? To channeling your personal brand and public speaking, and things that you can either use at work or in your personal life. And I jokingly call it Adulting 101 because really it's kind of like a grab bag of like, this is off the clock on your own time. You want to come and learn something, so let's give you something valuable. Our most recent one was a health and wellness fair where we talked about balancing our mental and physical well-being while also climbing that career ladder, whether it's corporate, entrepreneurial. How do we take care of ourselves? And what resources are in our community, right? It was whether are you getting a B12 shot? Are you getting natural products? Is there a gym you can join? But also finding that community of like-minded individuals. So grow is like Adulting 101. Impact is our community service pillar. Those, we never charge anything, and we make those usually at least one is on a Saturday, so that if you can't come because of work or because of like budget reasons, that is free and you pay it forward. So we focus on hyper-local nonprofits here in Gwinnett County, and we usually send a group of 15 or more volunteers to serve in a local cause.
So what are some of the local causes? I'm sorry, Kat. I wanted to, while she was mentioning the local causes, what are some of the local causes that you support?
Yeah, we're open to like anyone in Gwinnett, but in the past and recently we've done Streetwise. We've done Project Kids Eat in the summer, where we were creating meal packages for kids who were living in extended stays or were experiencing homelessness or houselessness. Food insecurity is really prevalent, unfortunately, in the summertime. So making sure that the kids who aren't in school at that season are getting something to eat and partnering with Project Kids Eat. Rainbow Village is another one, Special Needs School of Gwinnett. We've done a lot of those really focused places that are doing great work. And we've also done something like Relay for Life when it's in Gwinnett. So we have a great team of board members who help us see what is out there, who has a need, and where we can take our group to. Because What Matters had a 5K, and we took a group out there. So it's a little bit of everything. And when there is a need, we try to find a way.
Do you guys do anything in January for like a Catherine Hardrick MLK Day of Service?
We have to talk. We should. Let's talk about it. If it's in January, then we'll put that in the calendar for next year, but we would love to.
It is, and it's always in Snellville.
Shameless plug. We gonna get it in. I know that's right.
I love that. Right here.
Yeah, full transparency. Yes, we do a lot in the community, Karen and myself, and I am the director of membership with Greater Eastside Chamber of Commerce, and I am launching something really special later this year. But we do host an annual MLK food drive that I work with local partners throughout the metropolitan area for over 5 years. Something 21? Like that. Yeah, 21. Yeah, so maybe 22. So more than a year.
Yeah.
And when you said about the service, this is something that's near and dear to me. And you may or may not know this, but you mentioned some of the organizations that you work with, Streetwise, rest in peace, the owner and founder of Streetwise. And he's an amazing human being. How does the young professionals, how do you have those tough conversations about equity and advancement? I know you're under Gwinnett Chamber, which is probably as old as this county itself, maybe 200 years or less, and they've acquired a space where they have that reach and that support. Yeah. What do you do? What are the conversations to make sure that equity in it, that there is equity in advancement? Yeah. Because some of the cats that you've named, and those are great relationships. We have a lot of folks in Gwinnett and beyond that are African American, veteran-owned, women, people with disabilities of all ages. What are we doing to make sure that those opportunities are captured throughout the process?
Amazing question. And it's not just through GYP. The chamber is amazing at that. I'm very thankful for the leadership that we have. And obviously there is a key demographic that has been more prevalent in like historical chamber spaces, but I'm very proud of the chamber we work in because we reflect the community that we serve. Not only do we have a diverse team internally, but through the programming in GYP specifically, Our Journey Leadership Institute is one of those pillars I was mentioning earlier. And that is a highly competitive, selected group of young professionals. We cap it at 50. And it's a leadership training course that one of the key topics that we cover in there is DE&I. And even when the topic and the conversations were getting hard during like last year and other seasons, we still reached out to key leaders and said, hey, you've done a DE&I workshop for us before. Can you keep that coming this year? So we have instructors and leaders who pour into the young professionals, and we purposefully seek out the diverse group of leaders because Gwinnett is diverse. And making sure that it reflects across everything that we do is critical. We also do our 35 under 35 awards. And it is, if you look at pictures of our events, you'll notice that our events reflect Gwinnett County. Gwinnett Young Professionals events are an amazing array of backgrounds in industry and education and heritage and ethnicity. And that's what Gwinnett is. And so we look for ways to empower these young professionals to stay connected at the chamber because they're the decision makers. And as we all get older and more advanced, we are the next ones to take seats at boards, the chamber board especially, but in other boards and nonprofits and organizations locally. Our advisory board has a great diversity set of, again, industries, backgrounds, et cetera. And these are people who find GYP's board to be a safe launch pad. And then that brings the confidence to step into other boards and bring their perspective. So I think through our board, through the training that we do in our Leadership Institute, through the people we celebrate in our gala, and honestly, the invitation that we make to everybody all around, I think that is a key way to keep that inclusivity at the top of mind. And sometimes we go beyond just like, okay, well, it's Black History Month or Hispanic Heritage Month, so we have to do a Hispanic event, a Black event. Like it's more like, how do we integrate all of the celebration throughout the year and throughout the calendar and programming?
Right, the human experience and not limit. For me, it's a human experience that we all contribute to, not just identifying person's culture. However, you want to enrich and uplift and make sure we shine on all the things that make us wonderful and beautiful. So
absolutely,
yeah, I'll go ahead, Karen. I'll let you ask something else because I don't want to stay on that because I'm all about diversity, equity, and Karen is too. But I see when I go to the chamber dinner, and this is not you, this is young Dems. Young leaders. Yeah, the awards don't reflect the community. The recipients of the awards. And I don't know, did you go to the last chamber dinner?
Are you asking Karen or me?
No, you.
Me. Yeah. We work it.
Yeah. So I only saw one African American receive an award, but that's the chamber. But I would like to see more diversity in the recipient in funding partnerships that individuals can elevate their business, be acknowledged for the work that they're doing, that is equal to all the other folks. That's what I'm speaking about when I come to, it's great to have mixers. And you're right. When you look at the photos, which I jumped on your website, you see there's like a rainbow of folks. But when it comes down to material, like things that are really going to impact these communities, we have to hold people accountable, make sure that they making that stuff happen.
Yeah.
And I would love for you to that and help make that happen.
To piggyback on Kat's comment, what initiatives come through the Gwinnett Young Professionals that directly impact young business owners, either supporting their business, getting business, supporting them in their endeavors?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we typically have an open invitation. Whoever wants to, for example, host our mixers, that's an open invitation. We don't seek people out who say like, I want to go to your business. It's, do you want us to bring you 50 or more young professionals? Great. And we have a board of young professionals, some who are entrepreneurs, that we give them the lead. So our board, who is pretty diverse, we ask them to be our eyes, our ears, and our key ideators to say, this is what we're about. Where do we need to go? where do we need to bring this group to, or whose businesses do we need to support? Some of our board members are the leaders and the facilitators who are now empowering this next generation of young professionals. So we support them by inviting. They're usually like our first group of people who we ask to speak, who we ask to host, who we ask to be the idea leader, pretty much. And again, knowing that as we're climbing into the chamber leadership space, GYP gives them a platform to then build that confidence and step into the networking spaces of the chamber side, not just GYP, and then be those leaders there. And I will say a lot of our other awards do continue to reflect that, like Moxie, specifically for women. And I love Moxie Awards because it reflects, they have different categories of awards that they can win. And it's all celebrating women, but it just goes to show how many incredible women leaders we have in Gwinnett doing great work. And I think with everything, changes are going to take their time, but they're well intended and well on their way. And I think, Kat, to your point, there is absolutely always room for more diversity in some of these places. But I believe, at least with GYP, we're well on our way, because now it is a rainbow and so much that we do that there's just no way that won't reflect moving forward in our awards and our recipients. That's the key. One of the things that I notice the most when I'm giving out these awards is like asking and making sure I'm pronouncing everyone's names correctly, celebrating them because they're doing great work in the nonprofit space or in volunteer space. And it just reflects so many of us who come from different places and grew up here. So I'm very excited for what that will translate to once all of us step into chamber leadership as well, and not just the safety of a young professionals program. We want to build them up here so that they step confidently into chamber events once they can afford the ticket, once they have the tables from their organization and they stand up for themselves and say, I need to be in that room.
I love that. I really appreciate having someone that is aware that those conversations need to happen, and those conversations need to materialize into, I don't want to say contracts, but
into tangible things that are going to help my business if I'm a young professional.
And I'm sorry to cut off here, but have y'all engaged with the Gwinnett Chamber Foundation yet?
The Gwinnett Chamber Foundation. No, tell me about that. Let's talk about that. Oh, and about the Moxie, the applications are open now, right?
Yes,
Okay,
applications, nominations. So celebrate your women peers, and we want to see their names. And also, they can apply themselves. They don't have to be nominated for these awards either. But yes, we want to see their names come up. And we do have a team, like different teams lead different programs and events. But the Gwinnett Chamber Foundation is our most recent venture, I would say. And Deirdre Cox leads that. Oh my gosh, if you haven't already, she needs to be here.
I know Deirdre. Yeah.
But Deirdre is leading initiatives that help and empower minority women and veteran-owned businesses. And she is doing such great work and doing exactly what y'all are asking about. How do we get these minority women and veteran-owned businesses grants? How do we help them scale? How do we get them resources? And they have a cohort going on right now, actually. And I think, I can't remember off the top of my head when they're accepting applications for the next ones, but talk about getting these entrepreneurs equipped. They are doing a really good job, and Deirdre's leading a phenomenal effort. And I love it when, like, some of my young professionals, I tell them, hey, the cohort applications are open. So they're going through my leadership program and journey. And then they take up on Deirdre's cohort. And then you get to see them integrating. And then some of them are going to like Chairman's Club golf tournaments. And you're like, okay, I see you blending into all of the things that the chamber does to uplift you. Because slowly but surely, the message is, you have resources. We can lead you to water, but please drink from it. Like, please drink from it because you're already here. And I'm such a big fan of telling them and saying, here's the application, here's the link, go, go, go. And this year, I really I just enjoyed seeing some of my young professionals participate in Deirdre's program, or in the Chamber Foundation's program, and the initiatives that she's leading, because that's going to help their businesses scale. And then as those businesses scale, that translates into that financial and economic power. And we live in a world where money talks. So, once their business scales, then they could pour into the community more. And
now, is there a cost associated with any of the programs you were just describing?
The Chamber Foundation, their cohort, I don't recall it being a cost. Their
Okay.
business has to be at a certain level because it's when the business is ready to scale.
Okay.
And I'm blanking on the details right now. I would follow up with you and get you that, but it should be on the website too. So forgive me. I focus so much on Journey and like our GYP programs that I slip on those others sometimes. But no, those cohorts, the idea is accessibility and helping them scale. And we want to be a resource. So I don't think there is a cost. There's an application component to it.
Okay. All right. Kat, did you have another question about that?
No, I'm looking at it. I'm on the website. People can go and find out and learn more about it. I am familiar with Ms. Deidre Cox, amazing woman. I see that she's the executive, and I see you guys have like 24 board members and so forth. And diversity is very important. And so I want to make sure that we bring that to the forefront, because I think a lot of folks forget or get comfortable. And I just want to make sure that we talk about it. And I'm glad, Melissa, that you're making sure that conversation does not fall on deaf ears. And I'll be looking forward to seeing that, like Karen said, turn into some material
tangible
impact that's going to help these businesses. Because like I said, I'm a little partial. I ain't even gonna lie. I'm with Gwinnett East Side Chamber of Commerce, and I believe all of us chambers have a responsibility to make sure that opportunity doesn't just exist; it's accessible.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what happens. We tout access or resource, but the access just there, and that comes with financial barriers. If I'm already struggling, how am I able to come up with the fee to join a membership?
Yeah.
And it's good that you have the networking events, and you said that, for the young professionals, it's a nominal amount that you guys have landed with to make sure that is something that they can apply to. I do have a question for you though. What seeds are being planted now that you think will shape the future for young professionals?
In our leadership program, I get to see it a lot. We just graduated our cohort with 49 young professionals.
Oh, wow.
And it was just last Thursday. And a lot of them being able to pick just content from these past 9 months and say, I am a better manager because of this, what I learned in this workshop, what I learned in that workshop. And these workshops cover communication and team building, values-based leadership. Back to those things of like, oh, I have this leadership voice. And so maybe when I communicate, it comes off this way, but my teammates have this voice and they receive it this way. So how do we work together? I can't necessarily pinpoint one or like a seed, but I do think that connectivity and that human side to working and leading is something that our generations, whether it's millennials or Gen Zs, are learning to harness and manage well, so that when they are continuing their leadership and like expanding, they're aware and they're more in tune with the teams that they're leading or the people they're serving, instead of just, spitting out projects and instead of spitting out reports. It's like, there's a lot of people feeling now like, does my work matter? And if so, how? And it could be in any industry. It could be the most like reports driven, Excel heavy, or the packing care packages. And no matter what you're doing, I think a lot of our people are realizing that there's like a part that's really important, that what you do matters. You have to identify it and get other people on board with you to make it all work. Because ultimately, no matter what we do, we all contribute to like a quilt of things that we do to make our community great, no matter what industry we do.
Absolutely.
Very true. Very true. Is there an associate membership or a reduced rate on membership for younger members that want to join the chamber or smaller businesses?
I'm so glad you asked, because for accessibility, what we're doing, GYP doesn't have a membership, period. Okay. It is a pay-as-you-go model. We make our gala, which is our most expensive event, $60 or less, because young professionals deserve to dress up, clean up nicely, and go celebrate their peers or celebrate themselves. And you don't have to be a member to apply for Journey. You don't have to be a member to apply for 35 under 35. And a lot of the young professionals that we meet already work for organizations who are either chamber members or know about it. And so then they could say, okay, I myself maybe can't join and pay the membership fee, but I'll talk to my bosses who perhaps now that I'm more integrated will find a benefit in joining the chamber. But for young professionals, we definitely are keeping it open and pay as you go. And that's why we seek sponsors so heavily, because we don't want to increase prices. Journey is our leadership institute. It is a professional development tool that we're entrusted by with many people in the business community in Gwinnett. And that is a $2,000 investment, but it covers everything. And 9 times out of 10, employers sponsor this or invest in their young professionals. But we last year we launched a scholarship, because for the same reason, whether you work in a nonprofit, a small business, or your employer can't or won't provide this professional development tool, but you want to grow, then we have scholarship sponsors who help us offset those financial barriers.
And when is the next cohort for Journey begin?
Applications are open from now until June 26th, and the cohort begins in towards the end of August.
How old I gotta be to do it?
21 to 35, but I jokingly say I'm the bouncer. So if you really want to come and you're a little bit over or a little under, you just, we'll talk. But who am I to hold you back from learning? Okay.
I know that's right. So what is next for you? What should the community be paying attention to?
For Gwinnett Young Professionals or me specifically?
For you specifically. And then, with you, what's next for you? What should we be paying attention for you? I mean, you're the director, you're the rising star. So what's coming down the pipe for you specifically?
I love that. Well, I am a fairly new, I think I can't say new mom anymore. But being a working mom of a toddler who just learned how to walk, I'm excited to continue growing.
You're still a new mom.
I feel, thank you, because I feel it. Okay.
Congratulations to the best job in the world.
Thank you. It is the best title that I can have. And now that he says mama all the time, I come home just so thankful that I get to do both. But I think what's next is, so I am 32 years old, and I joke around that I'm going to graduate or age out of my own program in the next 3 years. Right. But as I go through that, and as I experience what it's like to be on the later end of this GYP range, I do think, what can I create next for myself and people who are in my range now of our career, right? Because I am ambitious professionally, but I'm also ambitious for like a really balanced home life. And what can I do that is not sacrificing my son's waking hour in the evening all the time, but also what can I do that I'm like, okay, if I have to leave you with grandma or dad, it's because it's pouring into me more and more. And so we're coming up with new ideas on how to add value beyond Journey, beyond GYP, or perhaps you don't need to go to a morning mixer anymore because you're already at the chamber. So what types of programs and events do I create? Do we explore more virtual spaces? Do we want to do more like culture building experiences? And do we go on trips? Or do we create evening events for those of us who work a 9 to 5, but we want to invest almost like if we were getting our next degree, working on that at the chamber in the evening hours? Do we expand our team to juggle all of this? I mean, there's so much opportunity that through what I'm experiencing in my personal life and how I want to balance working motherhood and professional ambition, I get a chance to create and expand what we have. But most importantly, is continue to increase accessibility. The more people we can serve, the more our program can continue to grow in impact, but also in reach. And so right now I'm just thinking of how do we build more leadership opportunities for people beyond the 35 age range, because Leadership Gwinnett, we're not the same organization, but we are such a great stepping stone into that. So how do we continue to get people ready for something like Leadership Gwinnett or like their boards in other organizations that might not come from a networking event, or if they already did Journey, or if they're out of our age range. So expansion is probably one of those things we're looking into. And as for myself, just continuing to be a good steward of the resources that we have and being a good partner for our community, because people pour into us and we work really hard to make sure it is a win-win.
Okay. Do you have a go-to book or podcast, besides Conversations with Karen and Kat, that you would recommend for young professionals that you encounter?
I have one off the top of my head because my boss recently recommended it to me. And it is marketing specific, but it actually applies in the work that we do. but it's called Know What You're For.
No
Um,
before.
I can't believe I'm blanking on the author. I'll look it up right now. But he's from the founder of Gwinnett Church. Gwinnett Church or Sugar Hill Church? I have it on I'm listening to it right now because I'll be honest, if I read the book, I'm gonna fall asleep. Listen to it. We're good. It is Know What You're For by Jeff Henderson.
Jeff Henderson, I see it.
So it's not a spoiler, but through the marketing tactics and techniques that he's sharing, a lot of the things are how do these businesses help their clients feel seen, valued, appreciated, and continue to engage. And that's something that in any spaces that I've been in, whether I was a paralegal or accounting or in a nonprofit or now here, which is also a nonprofit, it aligns really well with if you make sure the people you're serving feel seen, heard, and valued, they will continue to come back to you. And then they join your board. They become your volunteer force. They become your biggest ambassadors. And it's not in a transactional intention. It's, I must have done something right to make you feel really good. And now you want to continue that. So that's the one that I'm listening to now. Short, sweet, easy to read. And that's probably it. And then podcasts, I'm outside of conversations with Karen and Kat.
Did you I'm like, if you ever lose sight of one,
lately I'm just trying to like say with really like positive and like good stories.
Yeah.
Because if you tune in too much on the news.
Oh my goodness, this is so true.
Yeah, I can't get too consumed by what's going on because I have a little one that I want him to know the world is still beautiful.
Yeah.
So I don't have one right now. I can't think of one right now, but definitely that book has been a little ray of light to keep doing good work out there.
Know what you're for. I love that. Now, Kat, you want to ask the last question?
Yes. We are all about mental health, and we want to champion that. That's a conversation that's not talked about a lot. So what are you doing to manage your mental wellness, being as busy as you are, mom, your professional life, personal life? What are you doing to manage your personal mental health?
That's such an important, we could talk about this. Could be a whole other episode. Okay.
That's why we talk about it, girl.
I think vulnerability is important. I think I work in a place that I don't have to pretend that everything's always perfect. I'm so thankful for the leadership that we have because as a mom and as a young professional, if something is wrong, I can voice it and say, I just need, we have Flex PTO, our benefits have been good, but to manage my own mental health, I have a great support system. And I'm not shy to ask for help ever, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I am very true to that. If I need help, I'm going to raise my hand. And I love helping people. It makes me feel good. So I switch my framework and say, if I feel good when somebody asks me for help and I do it, if somebody says they want to help me, it's going to make them feel good if I need help. So I demystified asking for help. But there's something to just going for a walk. I love walking my dog and just taking even if it's 10 minutes, I just did that before I jumped on here and just taking that little breather without my phone. I was just looking at the time, but taking a walk, moving your body. And also really, I know this is probably an act of privilege when I say that I do tune out when I can't take any more news because it is.
Oh, we get it. We understand. But,
it is a choice what you consume. And I get out of social media. I got off of social media for Lent and beyond. And I'd rather just ask, wait, what's going on than to be consumed and snappy at my son, at my mom, at my husband, because I'm just overwhelmed. So, taking your break and if this is the opportunity we have to tune out, it is a privilege, but I will recognize it, recharge, and then go back and continue supporting and advocating and fighting for what we need to. But if I'm not okay, I will never be able to do that elsewhere. And how I raise my son, I think, is an act of resistance, right?
Yeah.
I love it. I mean,
those are all great self-care tips.
Yeah, absolutely. Those were all amazing. And I love how you ended with stepping away from all of this overflow of the internet and news coming from whatever form you receive it. You need to push back or step away from it and make sure you prioritize yourself. So I love that you say that. Thank you so much. With that question, our intention is that our listeners are able to pull what resonates to them and then they can apply it to themselves because we want to truly make sure that people are taking care of themselves.
Yeah,
and sometimes people don't know how to because you don't know what you don't know. So if we talk about it, then it can resonate with other people. So thank you for being vulnerable and thank you for sharing your truth with us. And I'll leave it there. Karen?
Yeah. So, to our listeners and our viewers, don't forget to subscribe to Conversations with Karen and Kat on YouTube, Facebook, and IG, and wherever you get your podcast. Remember that you are part of the conversation. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Conversations with Karen and Kat.
Well, we are impacting the world one conversation at a time.